Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Sarah Vantine and Dave Foy are leading the charge at Quantum5, great friends of the retail and fixed ops communities. Sarah and Dave, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you for having us, Ted.
Thanks, Ted. Great to be back again.
Sarah and Dave, you have seen so much and have been involved in so much, and we are indebted to both of you. Thank you for all you do for fixed operations. I'm excited about our topic today, service to sales handoff. And you know what? There's been a lot of talk about that service to sales handoff, the opposite of what we've talked about for many years in the industry. And Sarah, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what it is and why service to sales is gaining importance.
Yes. So we all have been really getting ready in 2023 to restart a lot of our businesses, right? There's been a big focus on, well, what do we do? How is this year going to go? What should we prioritize? And what we've consistently seen has been this juxtaposition of the BDC, the service department, and the sales department as one cohesive operation. And you have to think about it from the perspective of the customer, right? So customers don't see a dealership in their respective silos. And so many times we do this, okay, well, sales to service ecosystem. Let's talk about finance. Let's talk about the road to the sale, right?
Right.
But the reality is retention right now is what's so important, both retention of customers and retentions of employees. So service to sales, what we're really focusing on now is the position where service advisors and BDC personnel can help identify customers that maybe would be in an equity position or in a trade favorable position and nurture that relationship with the sales department to drive additional revenue. So having the opportunity for service advisors to raise their hand with a customer, maybe it's something that it's an extensive repair bill and it doesn't make sense based on the value of the vehicle to fix the car. That would be a great amount of money to put towards a new vehicle. And now with inventory getting back into shape, this is a great time to get back to those skills.
You're both retail, which is really important in our industry, and I think more than ever now. And we talked a little bit before the panel, Dave, about how service to sales represents it's a large lost opportunity for a lot of dealerships. And I know, Dave, that Quantum5 is all about the data, right? And now you are all about the data as well. So any quantifiable information on that yet, in terms of service to sales?
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit early to have some real numbers on that. But I think it's something that we've always kind of known, right? It's something that, and the best advisors out there have done this for their customers right along, right? They don't look at it as that one lost sale for the day, right? They're continuing to help their customer by recommending that they look at trading the vehicle in, whether that's because the vehicle has, as Sarah stated, some positive equity there that they could take advantage of, or because the repair bill's too large and that it doesn't make sense for them, right? So the advisor is there to make those recommendations and give that handoff back over to the sales department, right? Now, we've always done it the other way. Sales has sold the car, brought the customer out, introduced them to service, and now we need to complete that circle. As Sarah said, the customer doesn't see us in the silos that so many dealerships operate in. They see us as one dealership, not a sales department, a service department, and they need to know that everybody within that dealership is looking out for them.
And Dave, I think also, Quantum5 is pretty unique because you deal not just with the service side, but you deal with the sales side as well. Sarah with her, great retail experience with her background. So Dave, you've got experience on both the sides, on the fixed and on the variable. And I think that's a big differentiator that you bring to the equation as well.
Yeah, it's Quantum. Right now, we have a performance suite, right, where we take everything from frictionless sales, frictionless service, people first BDC with Sarah, people first leadership, ESIQ to do surveys of the team, and call queue to do call training. We can touch every part of the dealership and we can help you assess where you need to start, right? It doesn't have to just be, oh, I want to start with my service department. We can come in and do an assessment and understand what department needs the help first, and work from there.
Wow, I love it. Sarah, what are some easy steps for dealers and managers watching who want to get involved? We're talking about service to sales handoff, who want to get started today on it and identifying the opportunities and actually taking action on them, Sarah.
Well, first off, I mean, we have to treat this experience kind of like you would in going to a doctor's office, right? I mean, typically when a dealership is looking for training, there's a problem, right? Or there's something in the organization that they go, you know what, that's not quite right. I think I want to get help with that particular element. Well, sometimes when you go in for a doctor's visit, you might have a hurt knee, your knee might be bothering you, but the doctor is also going to look at all of the other things going on. They're going to get your blood pressure, they're going to get your pulse, they're going to get all of those pieces just to have a holistic view of, okay, well, what's going on, if you will. You know, Dave and I were talking a little bit about this because it's kind of like having a multi-point inspection, you know, for yourself when you go into a doctor's office. And so when you think about the service to sales handoff and dealerships going, well, I really don't know. I know I'm missing something. There's something here that I want to figure out. That's where we can really come in with Quantum5 and help a dealership figure that out. And as Dave mentioned, our performance suite, we do that holistic evaluation of the entire store. We can look at all of the pieces between your technicians, your advisors, your finance department, your sales department, your leadership, and identify the areas of opportunity and what the perception is, and help address not only the training with the skills, but also the culture elements that might be present in there as well.
You're both mentioning this performance suite, and I want to ask you about it. This is probably a good time. Sarah, tell us a little bit more about that, if you don't mind. And what is that, and what's it all about, and how does that work?
Yes, so we've recognized, and Dave and I, in our work with dealerships, we realized that usually what happens when we come in with a client is we might start with one product, right? We might come in and Dave and I might work with a dealership, and it's service advisor training that they're wanting assistance with. They want to really impact their service advisors and what they're doing in the lane. Well, then usually what happens is they go, well, wait a second. We see that the service advisors are acquiring these skills. Well, now we want to talk about doing this for our sales department. And okay, now let's talk about doing this for our leadership department. And it kind of trickles that way. Well, with the performance suite, now we have the opportunity where we can really come in and deliver the best experience across all of your organization. So addressing the organization from phone handling skills. So how they communicate with your customers from the BDC perspective, from the communication that needs to happen with your clients in the sales department and the service department, your leadership team, and then also that accountability piece to understand in your organization what the perception is, how your employees feel about the organization, what are some of the challenges that your employees think are present. Having all of that data just helps impact and address the culture so much faster. And so we recognize that our clients really want to have that entire experience and a roadmap that addresses the entire store, not just the individual departments. But that being said, if a dealership wanted to address one specific piece first, they still have the ability to do that.
Wow. Dave, Sarah addressed some of the training regimens there, that dealerships can put in place. Any others that would come to mind? I know you have always been a huge proponent on delivering training at the retail level, and you've told me so much about that. Anything else you'd want to add to that?
Yeah, so within the performance suite is one of the companies is ESIQ, which is that is going to come in and survey everybody on the team from the leadership on down to your porters, including the controller, accounting departments. It's going to talk to everybody, and that's going to give us the overview. That's going to give us the actual feedback from the team members on what they love about the place and what they don't love about the place, right? A lot of times our perceptions walking in there every day are not the same as what the reality of the team is. And this gives us the actual voice of the team to then make the recommendations on what products within the performance suite are the correct things to start with. maybe they want service advisor training, but maybe it's leadership that's needed. Maybe there's some missing areas in leadership that are going to help the service advisors down the line, and doing service advisor training first doesn't make sense. But through this approach, we can recommend what the perfect area is to start with. And it's proving itself out through a large public group that we have, that we've just expanded into a new region with them, by proving out that this system works, that it improves your CSI, it improves retention. And it's an approach that isn't just saying, okay, here's the product that you wanted to purchase, and we're going to give that to you. We would much rather work with them and figure out what the right products to start with are, and work from there.
Sarah, that's really unique what Dave was describing there with the work you're doing with the surveys, for lack of a better term, at the dealership. Sarah, is every dealership going to get that now from this point forward as part of their, bringing in Quantum5? How does that work?
Yes. So if a dealership wanted to go the performance suite route, again, that's a holistic and entire dealership approach. And so that would be inclusive in that package.
Okay.
And what's nice about that is too, these surveys, they've already been really proven in the marketplace. This is a company that has been around for a very long time in our industry. Annually, just to give you a number of how many surveys we actually do, 95,000 across North America. So this is not something where we're getting just a little bit of anecdotal data here and there. We actually have data that compares to such a large market. We can segment it by brand, so by your specific make or OEM with your dealership, and then even look across the entire nation itself. So there's a lot of great impactful data that dealerships can use to not only get the perception of their employees, but then see how they compare against other dealerships across the country as well. And so having that information, we just have found, has been so valuable, especially when we're talking service to sales handoff. Well, if your sales department has a negative perception of your service department, you're going to kill that process right there. And the same is the inverse too, right? So if your service department feels like the sales department is going to take advantage of a customer or doesn't have the same best interest at heart, it's going to flounder and cause that friction. So for us, one of the foundational pieces that we want to make super important this year in 2023 is having that holistic environment where we address the real needs of the dealership.
And Dave, that company that you've acquired, okay, that's now part of the Quantum5 family, has a great reputation with doing this with, I believe, among others, NADA. So that 95,000, survey number that Sarah just mentioned, that's pretty extensive, and it's got a lot of credibility, Dave, behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. The NADA workforce study that comes out every year that the industry looks to find out a lot of different things is done by this company. And so there is a lot of data that's behind it, and a lot of with that data through the years. What we can do is we can take that individual dealership or group of dealerships when we perform the surveys on them, and we know from the data and from what the team is saying, like what that means, right? So rather than just looking and as Sarah said, understanding from how they're scoring things or what they're saying verbally on those surveys about sales and service, how those two departments are relating to each other, and whether there's something that needs to be worked on there. And again, that goes into, part of what the performance suite addresses is you can take that data, you can look at that, and then we can form a plan that is specific for your dealership or group of dealerships to actually address what is happening within the stores.
You've both mentioned retention, and that continues to be a very, very large theme, as we all know. Let's come back to that service to sales handoff. And Sarah, what are some ways we can make the staff feel seen and heard so that they're highly trained in these roles, and so that they stay with the store?
Well, I want to throw a number out there first, because it's really going to drive the entire rest of that conversation. So $650,000. That's how much money a dealership can miss out on in gross profit by not retaining their employees 3+ years. And so think about it from your service drive perspective. Your service advisors are the person that builds that relationship with your customer. They build that trust and credibility to get to the point where a customer goes, you know what, Dave, I'm comfortable. You suggested I needed tires. I believe you. I know I need tires. I know you're going to take care of me. So within that service to sales process, the first step that really you have to focus on in order to have that kind of impact is employee retention. So first, really understand what your employees are saying, what's important to them, how you're going to continue to grow them in your organization. What are the pieces that are important to them in maintaining a good work environment and therefore a good customer relationship with your customers. And then from there, the next piece that we would look at is, of course, okay, well, let's remove the silos from the equation. Let's talk about this from the approach of if your store has a BDC, if your store doesn't have a BDC, let's say it's just service or sales, how do those departments work together? What are the lines? What are the processes where if this situation occurs with a customer, who has the ball? Where does it go next? Who's in charge of overseeing it to seeing it all the way to fruition? And then from there, how do you gain and understand if your customers are satisfied with that process, with that experience, and then continuously evaluating and adapting it? That takes a lot of moving parts in an organization. And that's often why there's so many challenges with executing it across your stores, is because you do have to pull in your leadership team, your general managers, your service director, your sales, your GSM. All of these people together have to collaborate and be ready when somebody goes, okay, this customer, here's the situation. They have, a lease. We could do a lease pull ahead. Let's look at some other vehicles. Maybe it's not a lease pull ahead. Maybe it's something like, well, they have equity in their vehicle and we sold them a car and we sold them another car and Dave's built this relationship, and he can have that conversation as a service advisor and go, hey, look, Sarah, your van is worth a lot of money right now. I don't know. You could probably lower your monthly payment quite a bit if you considered selling or trading it. Plus you get a brand new warranty, maybe maintenance thrown in there too. I mean, there's all kinds of different conversations that can happen, but it all starts fundamentally with having the same people in front of your customers. That really falls apart when you have a different service advisor every single time you come in for service. It makes that a really challenging situation for your customer to think that that's a credible experience. Whereas if you start with retention first, that's going to be where you're going to have a great experience.
And that sends a message too, right? When the customer has to deal with somebody new each and every time. We're talking today about the service to sales handoff with Sarah Vantine and Dave Foy with Quantum5.ai, great friends of the Fixed Ops Roundtable and community. This question is for both of you. Maybe Dave, you first, and then Sarah. How do you deliver this? Just for my edification, how do you deliver this process improvement? Do you do it on site? Do you do it remotely? Do you have any special tools? Maybe Dave, you first, and then Sarah.
Yeah, well, since it's only for you, Ted, I'll tell you how we do this, but everybody else mute for a minute. So we start out obviously with the assessment phase. There's a little bit of pre-work that gets done before we go in to do the training. That gets us our baseline of where our learners are starting. From there, we have an in-person training that takes place, and then they get put into our Quantum5 app and into our Quantum5 community. The app is part of that community. There's other learning that is delivered through the app that takes them on journeys to continue the learning. They're also connected to a community manager, which they have access to all through the week, whether that's through Zoom calls, through chat within the app, or emails or phone calls. They have questions, they're having trouble selling tires, they can reach out to their community manager to ask for some things that they can do. They're having trouble understanding, how to best deal with a customer. Maybe they got an email from a customer, they're not sure how to respond. They can send that over to their community manager and they can help walk them through the best ways to respond to that customer. That's all part of the sustainment of the learning. That's where we make our separation, is within the technology that we have, the data that we collect, and the sustainment of the learning. We come in and do your training, and then we're there to stand behind you and help you for the rest of the time that you're with us.
Sarah?
Well, Dave just nailed it, but
Yeah.
I want to add another element to it. And it actually, so I'm going to speak about the People First BDC program for a second. The reason why we chose that name, People
Yes.
First, is exactly what Dave talks about in our sustainment. And the biggest piece that we really wanted to make sure with our clients, we aren't just a training company. We really value the individual relationships with the learners and with the dealership. And so for us, there's all kinds of different ways that we put people first once they go through our foundational learning and continue to grow. So we hold our stores accountable. We want to see them improve. Whatever benchmarks and KPIs that they set, that can change, as time goes on. Once they achieve certain KPIs, we might switch and look at another target. But that whole approach where we put people in the center of what we do, I had a client the other day that actually reached out and he said, this has been such a cool experience because I had a question that was completely off the wall. They had a CRM company, I won't say which one, but they were having some difficulty in contacting someone with support because they were making a workflow change to how some of their sales communication was happening with their clients. And they were getting really frustrated because they couldn't get through to somebody at this company. And so one of our team with our community managers actually had a contact connection that reached out to a person in the CRM company, was able to facilitate this whole back and forth, get a hold of their actual performance manager, who the dealership was like, who is this person? I didn't even know I had this resource. Cool. Well, we connected the dots. We got it all straightened out. And the end of the day, the client was like, wow, so this has been such a world-class experience. This wasn't an area of responsibility that you even had, but that's how much we care. Our community managers care about the individual learners. So as Dave said, there might be somebody that is like, you know what? I really flubbed selling those tires. I really don't know what happened, but can I go over it with you? Can I talk about it? And there's that trust that's been built into the foundation of our company. And so when somebody goes through our app journeys, when they communicate with our community team, when they talk to any one of us, there's that trust that's foundationally there. And so I think that's what's made everything so special when we get our client results back, is that feedback.
And finally, for both of you, you've mentioned that performance suite. Is that available now? And is that ready to go, Dave? And if so, how do I take the next steps?
Absolutely, it's ready to go and be deployed at any dealership. They can reach out to Sarah. They can reach out to myself. They can go on to the website, quantum5.ai. Okay. And there's a form there, a contact form that they can fill out. Sarah and I are easy enough to get a hold of if you want to reach out to us to chat some more about it. And happy to see anybody at NADA that also happens to be joining that fun down in Dallas shortly.
Sarah, I'll give you the last word.
Yes, so you can live chat with us right now here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. If you want to get a hold of us today, reach out to either myself, drop your name, drop your email in the chat right now, or you can contact myself, Dave Foy. We're both very active on LinkedIn, and you can reach us also, of course, at our website, quantum5.ai, and we look forward to working with you.
Great. Quantum5, everybody, a lot of big news. Quantum5 is all over the news, so you want to check them out. And here today are the leaders, Dave Foy and Sarah Vantine. Congratulations to both of you on all the success that you are having and on all the great strides that Quantum5 is making. So Dave and Sarah, on behalf of the Fixed Ops community, thank you so much today.
Thanks so much for having us.
Dave Foy and Sarah Vantine from Quantum5 here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.